Hey there, G3XE here, back for the part 2. We're going to be looking at Dungeons & Dragons Evolved character classes. If you haven't seen part 1 and are confused, go back to part 1. Alright, so character classes. What do we have? We have Cleric, Dread Knight, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Shaman, Sorcerer, Warlock with an H, and Wizard. Obviously, you can tell that there are two new classes, the Shaman and the Dread Knight. Alright. I'm not going to go through everything with them, but definitely going to read the descriptions, talk about what making a character in DDE is like. Cleric. We clerics are priests that devote our lives to a specific god. Those that remain devout to their duty and his or her tenets are blessed with divine gifts and can ask for magical powers through prayer. You're going to have a spellcasting ability of charisma because you have to ask your god for prayers, for gifts. Power source holy, and at the table you should be praying to your god, right? So if you're, I'm just gonna, let's see, in Talar, one of the gods, common god is Dalen. So if a cleric of Dalen was at my table and he says that he wants to do this specific prayer, I say, okay, make a prayer to Dalen, and he at the table should, or she has to go. Dalen, I beseech you, it is me, your humble servant, and I call upon your aid. For I'm, and you keep going like that. I don't know how. I mean, people can be as creative with that as they want, but getting into the roleplay. All right. So obviously, you get your godly patron. You get spellcasting only prayers though. Choose a supernatural entity to worship and learn its rules well. You may cast spells, label prayers, and may read and learn new prayers through holy texts and scrolls. That's important. You don't get it just by leveling up. There is no HP. There is no power bonus really, based except for these abilities for leveling up. So these are essentially locked behind different doors for just proving that you are going to roleplay the characters, right? So once you do that, you unlock it. All right, Weapon of the Faith. You learn the techniques and rituals associated with thy faith's holy weapon. So for agricultural gods, it might be a sickle. For gods of the sea, a trident, etc. That, is completely lost. I don't know why clerics have maces. That doesn't make sense. Unless your god is, a brutal war god who likes to crush bones. Maces don't make sense. All right. Level 3, you get a priestly mission. It is time for you to take the most sacred of vows. Proclaim a priestly mission and forever pledge yourself to its pursuit. This is an adventure hook, okay? If there is an area plagued by Gnoll invaders, and you and the DM's like, okay, well, you guys all have to have a reason for being here that matches together, you could say, well, it's my priestly mission, right? You're taking that. You have to take one to progress. You have to make that promise, and you have to forever pledge yourself. And if you break that promise, I mean, your god will most likely either just, if you're lucky, will just shun you. If you're unlucky, might take vengeance upon you. So don't take oaths lightly, right? Ceremonies, so you're experienced enough to memorize the ceremonies of your faith. Keep them in your heart and perform them well, whether you do them for a crowd of hundreds or in places where none save your God may see you. So every ceremony bestows different effects. Create these with your DM. You're going to be seeing that a lot for two reasons. One, because I'm lazy. No, but two, because that's how you get unique stuff that's cool and characters that are memorable is by creating those. And religions have ceremonies, but they never do that in D&D. There's never like, oh yeah, well, of course, 4 times a day I have to, ring this bell and carry this thing of incense around me in a circle. There's like ceremonies, rituals, those need to be a part of your cleric stuff. Every class is going to get ability score improvements, but notice that raised by 1, the ability score you have improved the most thus far. So you have to improve by 1 the ability score that you have been working at. You get those at 5, 10, and 15. You can't say, oh, I've been trekking this entire way, not reading any books or anything. We've just been going on the super, 100 miles long hike. And, but yeah, I'm going to improve my charisma. Unless there's no reason, if there's a reason for that, then yeah, but, it's got to be the thing you improve the most, right? So you get other stuff. You also see some sort of renown. Every class gets renown at certain levels as well, which just means that people start to know who you are, which is something, that is also lacking, I feel like. So you gain rituals. You can go look at the prayers on the other document, obviously. Channel the divine. This is different, obviously. You can learn to achieve such high levels of connection to your deity so as to channel their voice and powers through the vessel of your very body. Few are so fortunate. Though your physical form will become exhausted during this process, your soul is empowered, allowing you to ignore any rolling requirements from prayers and always pass charisma checks. You can channel your god's divinity for X minutes before your physical body begins to sustain permanent injury, where X is your constitution ability score. That's what would happen if you channeled a god's power through your puny physical body, right? So you got to be careful with that shit. Also, notice that these will always say, almost always, you can learn, or you have the, you now have the ability to learn this, or option to learn. The reason is because you still have to go through the actual process of learning this stuff, right? You have to do the thing with the spending X number of hours. Sacred Shield, I think at first glance, people who are used to regular D&D will say, "Oh, these are all overpowered." Yeah, but one, I'm not worried at all about party balance, and I'm going to do a video coming up about that. But number two, if everything's overpowered, nothing's overpowered. So, and it makes for cool stories, right? So you get blessings; those are really good. Sanctified item, that's pretty important, or pretty different. You are beginning to understand the world through the eyes of your deity to such an extent you must tether your soul to an item to remain coherent while on this earthly plane. Select an item and perform the ritual. This is a physical metaphor for the bond between you and your god. Keep it with you from this day until your last. This item gives you +1 to all rolls. Yeah, so you have to sanctify an item because you're getting so lofty that you don't even see things from the mortal perspective anymore. Level 20 is your divine intervention. You may call upon your god to make the arduous journey into our world in order to perform a miracle. While you may feel you have served your God for a long time, it is but a grain of sand in the desert of eternity. A god's wrath can be just as easily provoked as his or her favor, so tread carefully with your wishes. All right. Making 180 complete degree turn, we go to Dread Knights. Dread Knights are those warriors who pledge themselves to the dark gods and the demons of this world. While childish notions of morality are quaint, those of us familiar with the harsh realities of this world know one undeniable truth. Power is everything. If the hypocritical lapdogs who call themselves holy men truly wish to help people, they concede that the only way to kill monsters is to become one yourself. Yeah, so that's what they're about. Now, they also, spell casting ability is charisma, but their power source is demonic because they're asking their demon for power. All right, demonic patron, favorite weapon. Pledge yourself to a dark god or demon and learn to despise what they despise, or at least pretend to. There are no illusions of loyalty here. You probably hate your patron, and it definitely hates you. Find a place where your hatreds align and get going. Right, so there's no, oh, I'm making such a connection. Like, whatever being you're pledging yourself to for this time is using you. That's a given. It's just a matter of, can you use it at the same time? So you get your Sinister Strike. Let's see. You learn how to channel your patron's dark energies into your weapon. Attacks done in this manner can irritate your patron, however, as you are sapping small amounts of its energy away from it. Sinister Strikes allow you to re-roll your damage roll once. Additionally, blows that draw blood will always cause wounds to fester and become corrupted. If you roll a natural 1 on a Sinister Strike attack, however, you immediately seize up in pain and cannot move for X minutes, where X is 4 minus your Constitution modifier, minimum 1. And that's because your demon is exacting revenge, is pissed off. It's like, hey, you keep taking little nibbles at my power, and I don't like it, right? So this thing is, the class of Dread Knight is about a constant battle for power between you and your demon. Spellcasting prayers, but they're dark prayers, obviously. Go check those out. Your unholy vow, similar to your priestly mission. Your patron may require from you a blood oath to ensure it has some leverage over you before allowing you any more power. To do this, you must swear an unholy vow to seek out and destroy the object of your patron's ire wherever you find it. This dark contract is written in blood, and any violation means your soul belongs to the demon for eternity. And that's an eternity of torture in the Shadowlands. So I mean, that don't take that freaking contract lightly, right? Just like you don't take an oath to a god lightly. These beings are above, incomprehensibly, if that's a word, above you. Like, this is, you don't take any of their dealings lightly. Okay, ability score, same thing. Wicked Damnation, basically you can, well, I'll just read this one because I think it's cool too. I'm only reading the ones I think are, like, especially unique and cool. But you should definitely read up all the classes or whatever, or at least the description, see which ones you like. So Wicked Damnation, you can learn this when you're level 6 or higher. Dark patrons are always hungry for more mortal souls. You can learn how to damn a mortal soul so that your patron devours it. Patrons want souls with enough intellect for them to torture, however, and can reject your offering. So roll a d20, subtract the target's intelligence ability score. If the result is above 0, your offering fails, and your patron will take what it wants from you instead, causing a random ability score of yours to permanently drop by 1. So this is saying is like, you can essentially just like take a like sick your demon on someone, on an unsuspecting fool, and have it literally eaten until they're a soulless zombie husk. Like, think about how horrible that is. Like, you wield immense power, but of course it can also eat at you as well. All right, usual stuff, hexes. You get those. You get your parry. You get your summon demon. So soul debt, at level 18, your patron has gifted you much power. It's time to pay up. You must gift your patron 1 soul per full moon, preferably the soul of a hated enemy to your patron. Failure to pay this debt will result in your patron taking your soul instead. And finally, this is why you should always read your class before you select it. Level 20, Treacherous Scheme. This marks the culmination of either yours or your patron's treacherous scheme. If you have not been sneakily plotting to off it, then you will surely be killed off by it. If you got a hand, now's the time to play it, because it's all or nothing when you mess with demons. So that's right. There is a death date set for Dread Knights. Like, you got to figure out a way to outsmart your demon, because eventually your demon's gonna kill you. So, Alright, druids. A druid is a warden of nature and uses the magical forces of the earth. If you wish to become a druid, you must abandon all actions that would harm nature and give of yourself completely to the land and its denizens. A druid takes only what he or she needs and must never intentionally harm nature. You will be, however, called upon at times to battle with the forces of the unnatural and to put a stop to those who would spread corruption and spread destruction. Ability score, spellcasting abilities, wisdom, powers, nature, right? Now, spells for druids and also shamans, as we'll see later, are called intonations. They almost sing to the earth and intone their effects from it, right? So, you get those. You get Wild Shape, Druid Circle, Wild Empathy, Beast Companion. You can move really fast. I mean, some of these are really pretty cool. Eventually, your Wild Empathy becomes Speak with Animals and Plants. Thousand Faces, your original form is beginning to seem less and less important to you. You can learn the art of wild shaping into other humanoid forms, allowing you to take on 1,000 different faces and bodies. Right, so commune with the earth, seasonal aspects, right? Your seasons, as seasons change, so do your powers. And an eternal form is you never truly die. You can only blossom into another form. Fighters. Fighters are a diverse bunch, but we all have one thing in common. That's bloodshed. Leave the fancy magic to the wizards in their tower. We put our stock in bone, in muscle, in steel. If you think you got what it takes to keep on fighting until every fight is won, then you'll fit right in. Otherwise, why don't you just go play with your wand, will you? Spellcasting abilities, screw you. Power source is might. Right, you get a favored weapon. I know it's hard to pick just one, but if you had to choose, what would it be? Go ahead and get a well-deserved +1 to all rolls with that, bud. So you get Brutal Strike. I mean, fighters they will decapitate your ass if you're not careful. You get Fame, right? You get extra attacks, ability scores, Dominating Command. Specialized Training, Iron Will. If you have sustained within your fighting career at least 3 serious injuries, you can learn how to power through and thus ignore permanent effects from pushing through the pain when wounded, which you can see that rule in the Mortal Kombat section of the other things. Get more fame. Essentially, combo is pretty crazy. Learning this power gives you the ability to chain your attacks. If one of your attacks successfully hits an enemy, you can immediately make another attack. You can do this a number of times equal to your dexterity ability modifier, minimum of 1. So you could, if you're playing a dex-based fighter, essentially, I mean, you could theoretically do a whole Assassin's Creed combo where like clang, 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 and just like murder like 5 different dudes all in one thing. Fighters are good at fighting. That's what they're good at. All right, monk. Monks hone both our bodies and our minds to total perfection. A monk can cast spells like a wizard, can fight with the ferocity of a warrior, and meditate with the serenity of the most pious of clerics. To be a monk is to pursue balance in all things. Spellcasting ability, wisdom, power source, key. So you get a martial arts style spellcasting. At level 3, you take a way. You must choose the way of the blink. Work with your DM to create this path and the benefit it confers. Again, create something cool here. You want to do way of the dragon, way of the monkey, way of the drunkard. Going back to Xanathar's. Dodge projectiles. So long as you can stand, you can dodge projectiles. Roll a d20. On any roll but a 1, you dodge all projectiles aimed at you. Like, you are a monk. We're not messing around with your monk powers. You're a monk, right? You get safe ball. Your gaining renown is called monastic honor. Purity of body. You can learn how to treat your body as your temple. So long as you do not pollute your body and make sure to exercise each day, you can heal 3 times faster than normal. You also learn to subsist only on 1 grain of rice a day. So later on, 100 punches. You can learn a fighting attack that deals 100 punches within the time it takes an ordinary person to punch once. Doing this requires 10 spell points. The attack automatically hits and deals a total of 5d20 damage. The attack cannot target other monks of the same level, however, or higher. Reason being is because they'll just do 100 blocks. Essentially, it's an auto kill, unless you're really unlucky with your rolls, but... Alright, Windrunner. You can learn the ability to run upon the ethers of the wind itself. Air can support your weight so long as you are running. This uses 1 spell point per mile traveled in this way. Meditative Traverse, you essentially learn astral projecting. Perfect Discipline. You learn to abandon all physical needs. Your body will never die of natural causes, and you do not require food, sleep, water, or air. At level 20, you can learn that. Paladin. Paladins take up the martial duties of a particular god. We are honor-bound to serve our god and smite his or her enemies throughout the world. Waste not your best years like most warriors, beating away at enemy soldiers for little pay and meager scraps. Join the cause of the righteous, and be paid with eternal favor in the lands beyond. Again, spellcasting is charisma, because you ask your god for prayers. Divine Sense spellcasting, double stuff. Take an oath. It is time for you to swear a paladin's oath, a promise to a specific deity in which you outline how you will serve him or her the rest of your days. This sacred ceremony must be sworn in front of a cleric of your god. Clerics are the ones who do the ceremonies. Like they're the trained, ceremony peeps. You can purify stuff, obviously. Righteous. Whenever you do something adequate of your god's favor, all your spell points are restored. Up to the DM, right? But you should be acting like a paladin acts. You shouldn't be murdering people and taking their shit. Holy Renown, more. You get auras, parrying. Channel the divine, similar thing to the cleric. You can inspire folks. Divine duty. Your deity deems you worthy enough to charge with a divine duty. A specific mission upon the completion of which you may ascend to sainthood. Falter not in your pursuit of this goal, servant. That is a giant level 20 adventure hook. Like, that's a big campaign right there. Alright, Ranger. Rangers eschew magic and hone far more practical skills. We hunt, we stay hidden when we can, and we fight when we cannot. In short, we survive. Some mock us, call us wild folk, savages. It amuses us. They think they're safe behind their big stone walls and warm hearths. I urge them heed this. When all your towers have fallen, and all your fire's gone out. We rugged few shall remain, and then to whom shall you turn but the rangers? So basically, wild, you learn the techniques of the wild. You learn to be a great hunter, to camouflage yourself. You get a beast companion, trapcraft. Your renown is called Outland Legend. Very much like Strider in Lord of the Rings or Aragorn, you're going to have probably a nickname that they call you, kind of like Folk Tales, right? Folk hero background, maybe, 5th edition. Your Beast Strike, you can command with a nigh imperceivable notion that that the beast should attack whoever you mean, right? So, superhuman tracking, animal friendship, known wilderness. You get pretty great, and towards the end, you get beast vision. You can learn to physically link with your animal companion, or psychically, seeing what they see. This can happen over any distance, but only after you've fallen asleep or gone to a deep trance. That'd be cool as a DM to do, even when they don't mean for it to happen. They kind of accidentally keep doing it before they've reached level 20, and they're like, what? Like, kind of like Bran in Game of Thrones. Rogue. If you have to ask what a rogue is, then they're probably not going to be a great one. See, call us whatever you like. Criminal, scoundrel, thief. But the time you're done insulting me, my mate's already been at your coin purse, and probably your wife, too. Leave fighters to polish their swords and wizards to play with their wands, because rogues do it from behind. Ha-ha! Okay, few dirty jokes in there. You get your sneak attack, value sense. You know what things are worth. You can smooth talk. Favored weapon. Obviously, your renown is street cred. You or perhaps your alias gain renown for your shady exploits. Immobilize. You can learn vicious techniques to immobilize targets. When performing a sneak attack, any damage total of 8 or higher can immobilize the target. You can give people the slip. Uncanny dodging ability. Specialize your training like you can specialize in a particular criminal tool set. This way, if you're ever blackmailed, you can say, I don't know who you are, but I have a particular set of skills. I will find you, and I will kill you. Liam Neeson style. All right, parrying, criminal enterprise level 16. You can learn how to run a much larger criminal organization. Yeah, you start I think, crime ring up there, but once you do, you make X% margin per job, where X is your wisdom plus your charisma ability scores. By the way, that can happen off camera as well if you hire people. You can also hire up to Y underlings, where Y is your charisma ability score. So that's pretty cool. You get to learn to assassinate, and level 20 you get silence absolute. You can learn how to make no noise at all when sneaking. You automatically pass stealth checks, unless circumstances give you an advantage, in which case you roll normally, i.e. neither advantage or disadvantage. Ooh, the Shaman, the other new class. Well, I guess I shouldn't say new. It's been in additions. I took a lot of inspiration from the Shaman in 4th edition, which I think is cool. All right. The ignorant may have false notions about we shamans. They say we practice black magic, that we are not to be trusted. But the wise know the shaman is but a messenger. We bring tidings from the next life into our own. So fear not the shaman, for when the time comes for you to go to the spirit lands, you will be grateful to have a shaman nearby. You have wisdom, your power source is spirits, right? So you get intonations as well, but totem craft. You can learn the art of crafting magical fetishes and totems. These can have a variety of effects, from healing nearby wounds to warding away evil spirits. Work with your DM to create totems and their effects. You can learn new totem recipes similar to intonations. Spirit aspects. You can learn to call upon the aspects of different spirit animals, affording you benefits. Work with your DM to create these. You can learn new aspects by studying a real animal of that type for X hours, where X is 5 minus your wisdom modifier minimum of 1. So you could essentially look at a squirrel for a while and learn aspect of the squirrel. It reminds me of Hot Rod when he does the spirit of the eagle, of the dolphin. It's basically that, but you actually get cool effects. So I just imagine some kooky ass shaman guy, and everyone else is like city folk, in the party, and he's like, hold on, and he's like, does a weird incantation, And suddenly he's like, "Spirit of the squirrel," and then scurries up a freaking tree, right? Like, that is, I think it's absolutely laden with role playing opportunities. Haunting spirits. You can learn to funnel nearby evil spirits to a target because they're both good and evil spirits that are unable to go past the spirit lands, right? They still have unfinished business. They will be bombarded with haunting spirits for X hours, where X is your wisdom modifier minimum of 1. This gives them a disadvantage on all rolls as the horrors of the spirit lands begin to invade their mind. Target can potentially lose their grip on reality during this experience. Doing this drains you of 3 spell points. Okay. Spirit companion, much like a beast companion, but it can take any shape. So, person or animal or I guess plant, but it has to be someone or something you knew when it was alive. So if you let's say had a great pet wolf, and then the wolf died because they don't live as long as humans, you could have him eternally as your spirit companion and is a spirit wolf now. You get shamanic recognition as your form of renown. Ancestral advice, that's pretty cool. You can go and talk to your ancestors and ask them what you should do, which I think is another great role-playing opportunity. Favorite element, because you get like lightning and fire and all this other stuff. Dances. So dances are kind of like rituals, but it's kind of like doing a rain dance or whatever. I don't want to infringe on different cultures and do a parody of them, but I think if you properly role-play this out, it could be very cool. Now, I don't mean actually dancing, but you could imagine a shaman doing a very involved dance for up to 9 hours, causing this cool thing to happen. Dream walking, so you can astral project yourself into other people's dreams. Charms, you can make little charms that add bonuses to you when you wear them. Spirit Lodge, you can turn anything into a Spirit Lodge, and everyone gets spell buffs when they're in there. And then finally, Spirit Form. You can take on your spirit form, abandoning your body as a zombie husk. You can invade any body that fails a wisdom check with a CR equal to your wisdom ability score. You retain all shaman powers in each body, as well as the powers of the bearer of that body had. Displaced spirits cannot take your old body unless they are also shamans. If a body rejects your takeover, you are immediately displaced back into your original body. Taking spirit form uses 15 spell points. So basically, if there's a big bad villain dude, right, and he's a fighter, anything really but a shaman, you can just go into spirit form, leaving your physical body behind for a second, jump on into him, and suddenly you're controlling him. And you know all your shaman stuff as well as all of his moves. And you're like, awesome, I'm just going to jump into a pit of lava real quick and then hop back in my real form. So, all right. Sorcerers. Sorcerers. The name given to us, whose magical powers dwell within ourselves. This innate ability is a gift, they say. We are lucky to have it, they say. We should be grateful. We are not asked if we would like sorceress powers. We are not asked if each time we feel elated or melancholic or furious that sparks should leap from our fingertips or flame from our tongues. We are not asked if we would like to see fear in the eyes of those we love as magic takes hold and we lose more and more control. To my mind, there are 2 options for those afflicted with the joke of fate that is sorceress power. You can cower like a child behind your mother's skirts, afraid at each moment you might lose control, or you can embrace. Learn to focus your power. And when you do that, you can be far more powerful than you could ever dream. So anyway, you can see that I'm trying to differentiate sorcerers from wizards a bit here, but this is, I think a sorcerer is the class that is defined by extremes. They're either going to be extremely good or extremely bad, much like a superhero who finds that they have superpowers. It's going to magnify whatever their personality is, right? So if you are slightly bad and you suddenly find out that you have all this crazy power, because sorcerers are the only ones that they have to learn their skills and hone it, but you could just be a random ass villager in a town that doesn't ever have any magic there, and suddenly you're like, holy shit, I can shoot fireballs, right? So anyway, become magical. Arcana Chaotica. You have the ability to cast magical spells through an innate wellspring of arcane power. You have little control over this process, however, and cannot learn new spells. Instead, each time you Add one random spell to your possible spell list. You begin knowing at any 6 spells. You are also magical for game purposes. Okay, so essentially, note that your spells are affected by a hereditary condition known as Arcana Chaotica. This makes your spellcasting work slightly different than normal. Cast spells as normal, but separate your spells into 2 groups, reliable and possible. All spells start on your possible list. After you have spent enough time practicing a specific spell so as to be proficient in it, you may move it over to your reliable spell list. You can cast any reliable spell normally. However, when you would like to cast a possible spell, you must pass a CR 15 wisdom check to bring the spell to focus, or instead, cast a random spell from that list, excluding the one you meant to cast. Sorcerers are powerful, let me just say that. But they can cause some crazy shit to happen. You may be trying to shoot a fireball at a guy, accidentally, enlarge him, double his size, and now he's just like, holy crap, I'm twice as strong. And you're like, oh god. Spell distortion. Having innate bonds with your spells has some benefits. You can learn the technique of distorting spells to better suit your purposes. Work with your DM to modify spells as you cast by manipulating its area effect, duration, intensity, manner, or features. Work with your DM to adjust spell point cost, and CR accordingly. You still get an arcane tradition, You can unbind spells, double cast, arcane manifestations. This one's, unique. You can learn the ability to summon forth manifestations of arcane energy itself, something no one but sorcerers can do. These are amorphous floating blobs about the size of a hound. They provide light, manipulate objects, perform simple orders, and can be absorbed by non-sorcerer classes to regain D6 spell points. You can summon up to X manifestations at a time, where X is your wisdom ability modifier, minimum of 1. They can stay on the material plane for up to 24 hours, but can be banished at will. Summoning one manifestation uses 2 spell points. So essentially, these are just a bunch of little buddies you can have floating around with you, and they can be absorbed by dudes that need to regain mana. I just wanted to add stuff that was unique to sorcerers to separate them out. Effect Arcana. You learn to use your innate magic to aid in trying situations by utilizing a variety of special attacks and tactics. Use up 1 spell point to do one of the following. So you can essentially, benefit yourself however is best for the situation. Give yourself better armor, better wisdom on a test, or on an attack roll. Wellspring of Mana. Anytime you roll a natural 20, all your spell points are restored. Pretty great. You get triple cast, Tradition Mastery, Share Mana. You can learn the ability to funnel your arcane energy into your allies. Sorcerers are kind of like magic healers almost. Like, they heal and help and buff other magic users, but can also do their own stuff. Oh yeah, at level 19 you get a physical transformation. The arcane energy within you has become so robust that as to alter your physical form permanently. Work with your DM to come up with this. This could be all manner of crazy things, but that I feel like the possibilities are pretty cool. In level 20, Language Arcane. You can learn to actually comprehend the very script of the gods and demons of this world, seeing the world in Matrix mode. You can feel every magical action taking place in the world simply by meditating. You know the details surrounding each event, including caster, location, and time. Sorcerers, again, are either going to be superheroes or supervillains, and they're rare, too. This is not a common occurrence. Finally, not finally, but second to last, Warlock with an H. Just as the cleric attends to his or her god and heals people in its name, so too does the warlock strike a bargain with his or hers and causes suffering in its name. The warlock walks the path of the lost and the damned, gaining power from the wells of it that flows up. I missed dark. Gaining dark power from the wells of it that flow up to this world from that deep place, the realm of demons. Shed no pity for the warlock, for they know what they have done, as their fate is sealed with the blood of all those who would cross them. Pray that it is not you who does so. Intelligence is your ability score. Power source is demonic. Intelligence rather than charisma, because you're more of a spellcaster who uses demonic power than you are a religious, like a Dread Knight, right? Demonic Patron. You do get prayers, though. Pick a Dark Patron is very similar. Eldritch Understanding. So basically, a lot of what the Warlock is about is just being a really terrible person because you understand things in a sort of Cthulhu mythos type sense, right? So you've witnessed such horrible visions when you pray to your god or your demon that you understand things on a far longer and more cynical timeline. What is the course of one life to the eyes of those eternals that dwell in the deep? All emotion and love drains from you, and you can only form real emotional bonds with X number of people, where X is your wisdom modifier. Everyone else is just dust along the endless cosmic march to the grave. This comes into play later, but also is ripe with role-playing opportunities. Because Warlocks would be like this. Kind of like Dread Knights, but a little less on the murdery side and more on the cynic in the corner, smoking a cigarette type side. Your Dark Pact, you're also Curse. So you essentially, you owe your Dark Lord at least one soul per full moon, similar to the Dread Knight, but you have to pay it sooner rather than later. You earn the Trap Soul spell. For each day after the full moon you have not paid your debt, your patron will take away a person or thing you love until it finally takes your soul, in which it will then torture endlessly in the underworld. This is what I mean about you can only have a certain number of people that you love. But yeah, essentially demons and dark gods and stuff connecting with warlocks realize that they have more of a magical tint to them, so they want to keep them around because they can cast the Trap Soul, which is more powerful than the Dread Knight's Sinister Strike or whatever. Shadow Walk. You learn to Shadow Walk, briefly step into the dark lands before reappearing up to X feet away from where you previously stood. So essentially it's like flitting or teleporting to like 10 or 15 feet away or whatever. You can corrupt stuff just by being there. You can do dark rituals. You can empower others with dark energies. But if you roll a 1, you get a natural 1, you get disadvantage instead. Hexes. Oh, madness. Your corrupt powers begin to drive you mad. Your moods and temperament will fluctuate. Each day, roll 1d6, subtract 3 from the result. Apply the resulting value, either positive, negative, or 0, to your charisma ability score for that day, ensuring that you roleplay your character appropriately. So, essentially, you can have up to a +3 or down to a -3 to your charisma. Well, I guess down to a -2 to your charisma every day. So you're gonna be a little batty, you know. Peer into soul. That I think was cool too. Your patron may grant you the ability to peer into the very souls of humanoids. When you do so, you understand who that individual is at their core, knowing all of their intents, all of their beliefs, and the target must also pass a CR 15 wisdom test or remain awestruck for X minutes, where X is your intelligence modifier. Gain more infamy, that's your renown. Horrid transformation, similar to the arcane transformation the sorcerers have. Your malevolent powers begin to modify your physical form, manifesting in hideous new features or growths. Work with your DM to create these and their effects. At 19, you get Coerce Demon. Your power grows to the extent, you can attempt to coerce your demonic patron, exerting more control over it than it has over you. If this fails, it will have devastating consequences, but if you succeed, you no longer have to offer anything to your patron and can command and control it. To do this, you must hatch a suitably diabolical plot to put one over on your demon. Work with your DM to create this. And Banish to the Void, quite possibly the most terrifying ability from a role-playing standpoint. You learn the ability to banish individuals, or you can learn the ability to banish individuals to the void, that great dark place that lies beneath the world. Doing so uses 10 spell points and requires that the target fail a CR 20 intelligence test. Failing the test results in both the target's physical form and soul to be banished to the void, where they will be tortured by eldritch demons for all of eternity. Think about how horrid that is. You could, I mean, like a warlock who's a villain in game. He could just snap of his fingers, and you're going to spend the rest of eternity being tormented in the void. The void is below the Shadowlands. The Shadowlands are just where mortal souls go, and they don't really. There are some demons there who like to mess with the mortal souls, but when they can't move on, and even then, the void is just it's a great nothingness that is a great wanting that pulls at the world constantly, because there's nothing. The absence of anything of substance, even though there are demons that live there, but they're not material demons. The absence of that just sucks all the life from the world. It's constantly trying to leech power away from the world. It's a horrid, horrid, horrid place. I don't even know if anyone would be able to survive in there if they planeswalk to it or whatever. Alright, speaking of wizards. Behold the wizard, master of spells. Wizards are those who pursue mastery over spells and magic. They are not born with innate spellcasting, but rather learn their powers through rigorous study and practice, reading ancient scrolls and tomes over and over and over again to unlock their secrets. Wizards usually have a higher mental acumen, I would say, and have a mind for study. It might not appear menacing at first, but all should fear the wizard, for they see the world beyond our understanding and can kill you with a snap of their fingers. Intelligence is your spellcasting ability. Power source is your learned arcane. Spellcasting, favorite component essentially means they're visual, somatic, or material. You just don't have to use those for spells anymore. I understand most people are going to choose material, but I think it'd be cool if you're like an assassin wizard that you choose verbal. And you just no longer have to make any sound when you cast spells. That'd be cool. Arcane Focus basically just gives you a bonus. You can learn to turn an object into an arcane focus, imbuing it with the channeling power of ancient magics. You must spend a whole hour focusing upon the object. Once the object is your arcane focus, it raises your maximum number of spell points by 5, so long as it's on a person. You can only have one active at the same time. You get Wizardry Renown. Spell Accuracy, right? You get +2 spell test. Wizard Utility. You essentially can learn Alchemy, Rune Making, Scrying, some other wizard type thing that you make up. Become Magical. You essentially count as magical, which works for like detecting magic spells and stuff like that. So other mages will be like, oh shit, there's another mage nearby. Unbind, this is kind of like dispelling things. You can now learn the ability to unbind. Learning this spell casting technique allows you to attempt to unravel the spells of others. Roll an intelligence check with a CR of the target's spell's difficulty. If you pass the test, you can unbind the spell by using up the number of spell points used to cast the spell in the first place. If you fail the test, those spell points are used up anyway and the spell is not unbound. You can attempt this as many times as you have spell points. At level 13, you get Apprentice. Your fame and success has made you quite the rising star in the wizardry world, and you begin to have people asking to be your apprentice. You can take on one apprentice who acts as your ward. He or she begins level 1. Tradition Mastery, double cast. You can cast twice in the time it takes normal people to cast once. Synthesize Scroll. You can just glance at the scroll and understand it. And at level 20, become the Planeswalker. You can learn to walk between the very planes of reality themselves. You can take up to X people with you, where X is your intelligence modifier, minimum of 1. And yes, of course, that does mean you could Planeswalk, as I was saying, to the Void. I don't know why you would, for you would surely die. But if someone was banished to the Void, I'm sure a party of capable enough people who take enough magical precautions could go on a rescue mission. But that would be a cool adventure to see. Well, anyway, thanks. This is part 2. Hope you enjoyed. Part 3 is going to be an example character creation.